Admiral Jake Morrison sat in the large meeting room on Terra Station. The station floated high above Earth, spinning slowly in the darkness of space. He looked around at the other beings in the room. They were all different from humans. Some had scales like reptiles. Others looked like living crystals. A few seemed to be made of pure light. Jake had been coming to these meetings for 10 years. Every time he tried to speak for Earth and humanity. Every time the other aliens laughed at him or ignored him completely. Today was supposed to be different. Jake had prepared a new proposal. Humans wanted to expand their trade routes. They wanted to build more defensive ships. They wanted to be treated as equals in the galaxy. The meeting room was huge. It had to be big enough for all the different alien species. The ceiling was high and curved. Strange lights hung from above, giving off a soft blue glow. The walls were covered with screens showing different star systems and trade routes. Chairman Valtar stood at the front of the room. He was tall and looked like a giant insect. His body was covered in hard, dark shell. His eyes were huge and had many parts, like a fly's eyes. When he spoke, his voice made a clicking sound. Today we discuss the human proposal for expanded trade rights, Valtar said. His voice echoed in the large room. Jake stood up. He was wearing his best uniform. The blue fabric had gold stripes on the shoulders. On his chest were medals he had earned during his years of service. He cleared his throat and began to speak. Honorable members of the Galactic Council, Jake said. Humanity has been a member of this council for 50 years. We have served faithfully. We have followed all the rules. We have provided workers for your mining operations. We have shared our food and our knowledge. Now we ask for the right to expand beyond our current 12 worlds. The room was quiet for a moment, and the laughter began. The Zephyrians laughed first. They were the reptile-like aliens with green scales and yellow eyes. Their leader, General Cross, showed his sharp teeth when he smiled. Humans think they are ready for expansion, he said. You are barely able to manage the worlds you have. Now, Anexari joined in the laughter. They were the crystal beings. Their bodies were made of what looked like living glass. When they laughed, it sounded like wind chimes. Human technology is so primitive, one of them said. You still use metal ships. We have moved beyond such crude methods. Jake felt his face grow hot with anger, but he kept his voice calm. Our technology may be different, but it is effective. Our ships are reliable. Our workers are skilled. We have never failed to meet our obligations to the Council. More aliens began to laugh. The Luminari were beings of pure energy. They lived inside special suits that let them interact with solid matter. Their leader's voice sounded like electricity crackling. Humans are useful for manual labor, the Luminari said. But leadership requires intelligence beyond your species. The Deep Reach were the water-dwelling aliens. They looked like giant octopi with blue skin. They needed special tanks of water to survive in the station's air. Their representative made a gurgling sound that meant laughter in their language. Jake looked at his aide, Captain Lisa Hayes. She was sitting at a small table behind him. Lisa was young but smart. She had short brown hair and serious green eyes. She was looking at a tablet computer, reading something with a worried expression. Lisa stood up and walked quickly to Jake. She whispered in his ear, Admiral, I just received new intelligence. The Council is planning to vote on restricting human expansion. They want to limit us to our current 12 worlds forever. Jake's hands tightened into fists. 50 years of service. 50 years of following their rules. 50 years of being treated like servants. And now they wanted to cage humanity like animals. Chairman Valtar was speaking again. The human proposal is rejected, he said. Furthermore, The Council believes that human expansion has been too rapid. You have grown too quickly for your own good. The Council will vote next week on new restrictions for human territory." The other aliens nodded in agreement. Some made sounds of approval in their own languages. The Zephyrians hissed. The Nexari chimed. The Luminari crackled. Jake looked around the room one more time. He saw the arrogance in their faces. He saw how they looked down on humans. He saw 50 years of patience and service being thrown away like garbage. "Chairman Veltar," Jake said. His voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. The room became quiet. "Yes, Admiral Morrison?" Veltar said. His tone was mocking. "Earth hereby formally withdraws from the Galactic Council, effective immediately," Jake said. "We renounce all treaties, trade agreements, and mutual defense pacts." The silence in the room was complete. Even the humming of the station's machines seemed to stop. Every alien in the room stared at Jake with surprise. Veltar's compound eyes flickered. He made a sound that might have been laughter. "You cannot survive without the Council's protection and resources, little human. You will be back within a solar cycle begging for readmission." Jake picked up his papers from the table. Lisa gathered her equipment. The other human delegates in the room stood up and prepared to leave. "Admiral Morrison," Veltar called out, "you are making a mistake. Humans need the Council more than the Council needs humans." Jake stopped at the door. He turned back to face the room full of aliens. His voice was calm, but cold. "We'll see about that." Jake and Lisa walked out of the meeting room. The door closed behind them with a soft hiss. They walked down the long corridor toward the human section of the station. Their footsteps echoed in the empty hallway. "Admiral," Lisa said quietly. "What happens now?" Jake looked out through a window at the stars. Somewhere out there were 12 human worlds. Somewhere out there were billions of humans who had been treated as second-class citizens for 50 years. Somewhere out there was Earth, the home world that had been patient for too long. "Now we show them what humans can really do," Jake said. Behind them, in the meeting room, the aliens were beginning to realize that something had changed. The humans were no longer asking for permission. They were no longer begging for respect. They were walking away. And for the first time in 50 years, the Galactic Council was about to learn what the galaxy looked like without human help. The game had changed. The humans were no longer playing by the Council's rules. They were about to start playing by their own rules, and the aliens had no idea what was coming. Dr. Alex Turner stood in the main control room of Terra Station. Through the large windows, he could see Earth spinning slowly below. The blue and white planet looked peaceful from space. But Alex knew that everything was about to change. It had been 6 hours since Admiral Morrison announced Earth's withdrawal from the Galactic Council. Alex had been the human trade representative for 8 years. He knew every trade route, every shipping contract, every business deal between humans and aliens. Now he was watching it all fall apart. The first signs of trouble came from the Zephyrian mining operations. Alex's computer screen showed a red warning light blinking next to the Kepler 442b mining facility. The facility produced rare metals that the Zephyrians needed for their technology. "What's the problem at Kepler 442b?" Alex asked his assistant. Mary Mary was a young woman with black hair and smart eyes. She had been working on alien trade issues for 3 years. She looked at her tablet and frowned. "The logistics network is down," Mary said. "The mining robots have stopped working. The transport ships are not moving. The whole operation is shut down." Alex nodded. He had expected this. The Zephyrians had built their mining operation, but humans had designed the computer systems that ran it. Human companies had written the software. Human engineers had programmed the robots. When Earth withdrew from the Council, all human companies, had been ordered to shut down their operations in alien space. The shutdown was immediate and complete. What about the Nexari crystal farms? Alex asked. Mary checked another screen. Same problem. The atmospheric processors have stopped working. The crystals need a specific air mixture to grow. Without the processors, the farms will die in a few days. Alex walked to the large display screen on the wall. It showed a map of the galaxy with hundreds of lights marking different facilities and operations. As he watched, the lights began. Turning red one by one dot, the deep-reach deep-sea mining platforms on Aquaria Prime went dark. The platforms had been built by the Deep Reach, but the artificial intelligence systems that controlled them had been created by human tech companies. Without the AI, the platforms could not function. The Syntoid manufacturing centers began reporting problems. The mechanical aliens were proud of their industrial capabilities, but their factories needed specific rare earth elements that came from human-controlled mines. Without those materials, their production lines were shutting down. Alex's communication system began beeping. Incoming messages from across the galaxy. He opened the first one. It was from the Zephyrian Trade Minister. The reptilian alien's face appeared on the screen. His yellow eyes looked worried. "Dr. Turner," the minister said, "there seems to be a problem with our mining operations. Our computers are not responding to commands. Can you help us fix this?" "Issue?" Alex deleted the message without responding. More messages came in. The Nexari Agricultural Council, the Deep Reach Industrial Committee, the Syntoid Manufacturing Guild. All of them were reporting the same problems. Captain Ben Rodriguez was commanding the human merchant ship Odyssey. He had been in the middle of a cargo run to the Syntoid homeworld when the withdrawal order came through. Ben was an experienced ship captain with 15 years of service. "Rodriguez to Terra Station." Ben's voice came through the communication system. "I'm turning around and heading back to Earth. My cargo is industrial equipment for the Syntoids." "Confirmed." "Captain Rodriguez," Alex replied. "All human ships are ordered to return to human space immediately." Across the galaxy, thousands of human ships were changing course. Cargo ships, passenger vessels, survey ships, and research vessels. All of them were abandoning their missions and heading home. The effect was immediate. The galaxy's shipping network was built around human vessels. Human ships were faster, more reliable, and more efficient than alien ships. They carried goods between different star systems. They transported passengers. They delivered supplies to remote colonies. With the human ships gone, the galaxy's transportation system began to collapse. Alex opened a communication channel to the Luminari embassy. The Luminari were beings of pure energy who needed special containment suits to interact with solid matter. The suits were complex devices that required constant maintenance. The Luminari ambassador appeared on the screen. His energy form was contained in a humanoid suit that glowed with soft light. "Dr. Turner," the ambassador said, "we are experiencing technical difficulties with our containment systems. Our engineers cannot solve the problem. We need human technicians to help us." Alex looked at the desperate alien. The Luminari had always acted superior to humans. They had claimed that human technology was primitive. Now they were begging for help. "I'm sorry, Ambassador," Alex said. "Earth is no longer providing technical support to council members." The ambassador's light flickered with what might have been fear. "But without our suits, we cannot leave our energy chambers. We will be trapped on our ships and stations." Alex ended the communication. He felt no sympathy for the Luminari. They had had 50 years to treat humans with respect. They had chosen arrogance instead. The crisis was spreading faster than Alex had expected. The Galactic Communication Network was beginning to fail. The network used a combination of technologies from different species. But the key components were maintained by human engineers. Mary ran up to Alex with her tablet. The Hive Collective is calling for an emergency meeting, she said. Their food distribution network is failing. They're facing starvation on 17 worlds. Alex was not surprised. The Hive Collective had billions of members living in massive cities. They could not grow enough food on their own worlds. They depended on food imports from other species. The shipping network that carried their food was managed by human companies. What about the Council's emergency communication system? Alex asked. Mary shook her head. It's having problems too. The system uses holographic projectors that were designed by human scientists. Without maintenance, the projectors are starting to fail. Alex walked back to the big display screen. More lights were turning red. The galaxy was starting to shut down. His computer beeped with another message. This one was from Chairman Veltar himself. The insect-like alien appeared on the alley screen. His compound eyes looked angry. Dr. Turner, Veltar said, there are technical problems across the galaxy. Human companies are not responding to service requests. This is unacceptable. The Council demands that these problems be fixed immediately. Alex smiled. Even now, Veltar was giving orders like humans were still Council members. The chairman still did not understand what had happened. Chairman Veltar, Alex said, Earth is no longer a member of the Galactic Council. We have no obligations to fix your problems. Veltar's eyes flickered with what might have been the beginning of understanding. You cannot do this. The galaxy needs human services. The galaxy had 50 years to treat humans as equals, Alex said. You chose to treat us as servants instead. Now you will learn what the galaxy looks like without human help. Alex ended the communication. He turned to Mary. Send a message to all human facilities in Council space. Complete shutdown in 24 hours. All human personnel are to return to Earth immediately. Mary nodded and began typing the message. Alex looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the aliens were beginning to realize that they had made a terrible mistake. The humans were no longer asking for permission. They were no longer begging for respect. They were walking away from the galaxy that had rejected them. And for the first time in 50 years, the aliens were about to learn what they had really lost. Commander Sarah Blake stood on the bridge of the human transport ship Liberty. 2 weeks had passed since Earth's withdrawal from the Galactic Council. She was in charge of bringing home the last group of human workers from the Nexari crystal farms. Through the ship's main window, Sarah could see the Nexari homeworld below. The planet had once been beautiful, covered in shimmering crystal formations that grew like forests. Now many of the crystal fields were turning gray and dying. Commander, her communications officer called out. We're receiving another message. From the Nexari government. Sarah sighed. This was the 15th message today. Put it through, she said. The face of a Nexari leader appeared on the screen. The alien's crystal body was normally bright blue, but now it looked dull and cracked. When the Nexari spoke, its voice sounded like breaking glass. Commander Blake, please reconsider. Our crystal farms are dying. We need human atmospheric processors. To save them, we will pay any price. Sarah looked at the desperate alien. I'm sorry, but my orders are clear. All human personnel and equipment are to return to Earth immediately. The Nexari's body flickered with what might have been panic. But without the crystal farms, our economy will collapse. Our people will have no way to trade with other species. That's not Earth's problem anymore, Sarah said. She ended the communication. Her second in command, Lieutenant Pete Jackson, walked up to her. Pete was a tall man with brown hair and serious blue eyes. He had been working on alien worlds for 5 years. Commander, Pete said, I've been monitoring communications across the galaxy, The situation is getting worse. Sarah nodded. Show me the reports. Pete activated the ship's main display screen. It showed a map of the galaxy with different colored lights marking various crises. The Hive Collective is in the worst shape, Pete said. Their food distribution network has completely collapsed. They're reporting riots on 12 worlds. Their populations are starting to starve. Sarah studied the map. The Hive Collective had always been proud of their massive cities and huge populations, but they had never been able to grow enough food to feed everyone. They depended on food imports from agricultural worlds. The problem was that the shipping network that carried their food was run by human companies. Human ships were faster and more reliable than alien vessels. Human logistics software managed the complex delivery schedules. With the humans gone, the Hive Collective had no way to move food from the farming worlds to the city worlds. Billions of insects were facing starvation. What about the deep reach? Sarah asked. Pete pointed to another section of the map. They're in serious trouble too. Their underwater cities are becoming uninhabitable. The water purification systems are failing. Sarah was not surprised. The deep reach lived in cities on the ocean floors of their worlds. The cities were protected by complex pressure systems and water purification technology. But the technology had been designed and maintained by human engineers. Without human maintenance, the systems were breaking down. The water in the cities was becoming toxic. The pressure systems were failing. The deep reach were being forced to abandon their homes. And the Syntoids? Sarah asked. Pete shook his head. Their manufacturing has dropped by 70%. They can't get the rare earth elements they need for their production lines. The Syntoids were mechanical beings who are proud of their industrial capabilities. But their factories needed specific materials that came from human-controlled mines. Without those materials, they could not build their advanced technology. What about the Luminary? Sarah asked. They're trapped, Pete said. Their containment suits are failing. Many of them can't leave their energy chambers. They're completely cut off from the physical world. Sarah felt a moment of satisfaction. The Luminari had always acted like they were superior to humans. They had claimed that human technology was primitive and crude. Now they were finding out how much they really needed human help. Her communications officer called out again. Commander, we're getting a priority message from Earth. It's from Admiral Morrison. Sarah activated the secure channel. Admiral Morrison's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired but determined. Commander Blake, Morrison said, what's the status of the evacuation? We're bringing home the last group of workers from the Nexari farms, Sarah said. All human personnel should be back in Earth space within 48 hours. Morrison nodded. Good. How are the aliens handling the situation? Sarah looked at the display screen showing the galaxy-wide crisis. They're panicking, sir. The Zephyrians have offered to reverse the expansion restrictions. The Luminari are promising us full voting rights in the Council. The Deep Reach are offering to share their deep-sea mining technology. Morrison's expression did not change. And what did you tell them? I told them that Earth is no longer interested in Council membership, Sarah said. Good, Morrison said. The Council had 50 years to treat us as equals. They chose to treat us as servants instead. Now they can learn to live without us. The communication ended. Sarah looked out at the Nexari homeworld again. The dying crystal farms looked like a graveyard of broken glass. On the planet's surface, she could see Nexari workers trying desperately to repair the atmospheric processors. But the machines were too complex for them to understand. They had always relied on human engineers to maintain the equipment. Pete walked up to her with another report. Commander, I'm getting word from across the galaxy. Several species are starting to blame each other for the crisis. The Zephyrians are saying the Nexari should have treated humans better. The Nexari are blaming the Hive Collective for being too demanding. Sarah nodded. This was what she had expected. When things went wrong, the aliens always looked for someone else to blame. They never took responsibility for their own actions. What about the communication network? Sarah asked. It's getting worse, Pete said. The holographic projectors are failing across the galaxy. Some species can't even contact each other anymore. Sarah smiled grimly. The Galactic Communication Network had been one of the Council's greatest achievements. It allowed instant communication across thousands of light years. But the key components had been designed and maintained by human scientists. Without human maintenance, the network was falling apart. The galaxy was becoming isolated, with different species unable to coordinate. Their response to the crisis. Her communications officer called out again. Commander, we're getting desperate messages from 17 different species. They're all asking for help. Delete them, Sarah said. We're not in the help business anymore. The Liberty finished loading the last group of human workers. Sarah gave the order to depart. As the ship lifted away from the Nexari homeworld, she looked back at the dying crystal farms. The aliens had thought humans were useful servants. They had never realized that humans were the foundation that held their civilization together. Without human knowledge, human technology, and human work, the galaxy was falling apart. Sarah opened a channel to her crew. Attention all hands. We're going home. After 50 years of serving others, we're finally free to serve ourselves. The Liberty jumped into hyperspace, leaving the dying Nixari world behind. Across the galaxy, other human ships were making the same journey. They were all going home to a world that had finally decided to put itself first. Behind them, the galactic civilization that had rejected them was crumbling. The aliens were learning too late that they had built their empire on human backs. Without humans, they had nothing. The galaxy was about to discover what it meant to be truly alone. General Kevin Stone stood in the military command center deep inside Earth's moon. 1 month had passed since Earth's withdrawal from the Galactic Council. The massive screens around him showed the positions of human colonies across the galaxy. Kevin was a veteran soldier with gray hair and sharp eyes. He had served in the human military for 25 years. He had always known this day would come. The aliens would not let humanity go peacefully. General, his aide, Colonel Amy Davis, walked up to him. We're getting reports from our intelligence network. Several alien species are preparing military action against our colonies. Kevin nodded. He had been expecting this. The aliens had spent a month trying to convince Earth to return to the Council. They had offered trade deals, voting rights, and technology sharing. Earth had refused every offer. Now they were getting desperate. If they could not convince humans to return, they would try to force them. Show me the intelligence reports. Kevin said. Amy activated the main display screen. It showed a map of the galaxy with red marks indicating alien military movements. The Zephyrians are moving their war fleet toward our colony at New Austin, Amy said. They have 50 battle cruisers and 200 fighter ships. They're planning a full assault. Kevin studied the enemy formation. The Zephyrians were known for their aggressive tactics. They liked to attack with overwhelming force and crush their enemies quickly. What about our defenses at New Austin? Kevin asked. The colony has 20 defensive platforms and 50 patrol ships, Amy said. On paper, we're outnumbered 5 to 1, Kevin smiled. On paper doesn't matter. What matters is what the enemy doesn't know about our capabilities. He walked to another screen that showed the human colony of New Austin. The planet looked peaceful from space. Green continents and blue oceans. Small cities scattered across the surface. It looked like an easy target, but Kevin knew better. New Austin was protected by defensive systems that the aliens had never seen before. weapons that human scientists had developed in secret over the past 50 years. "General," Amy said, "we're receiving a message from the Zephyrian fleet commander. He's demanding that we surrender the colony." "Put him through," Kevin said. The face of a Zephyrian general appeared on the screen. His green scales were marked with red war paint. His yellow eyes glowed with confidence. When he spoke, his voice was full of arrogance. "I am General Sectar of the Zephyrian War Fleet," the alien said. "You will surrender the colony of New Austin immediately. Your planet will return to the Galactic Council and accept our terms." Kevin looked at the alien commander. "General Sectar, this is General Stone of Earth Defense Command. New Austin is a sovereign human colony. We will not surrender to you or anyone else." Sectar showed his sharp teeth in what might have been a smile. "Human, you are outnumbered 5-1. Your primitive weapons cannot stand against Zephyrian military technology. Surrender now, and we will be merciful." "No," Kevin said simply. Sectar's eyes flashed with anger. "Then you will be destroyed. Your colony will be reduced to ashes. Your people will learn the price of defying the council." The communication ended. Kevin turned to Amy. "Alert New Austin's defense grid. Tell them to prepare for combat." On the planet's surface, Mayor Jenny Foster was coordinating the colony's defense. Jenny was a strong woman with red hair and green eyes. She had been mayor of New Austin for 8 years. She had always known this day might come. Mayor Foster, her defense coordinator, Captain Mike Turner, walked up to her. "The Zephyrian fleet is approaching. They'll be in weapons range in 30 minutes. Jenny nodded. "Activate the defense grid. All civilians are to move to the underground. Shelters immediately." The defense grid was New Austin's secret weapon. To the aliens, it looked like a simple defensive system. A few orbital platforms and some ground-based missile launchers. Nothing that could stop a major assault. But the defense grid was much more than it appeared. Human scientists had been working on advanced weapons technology for decades. They had developed energy shields, plasma cannons, and guided missile systems that were far ahead of anything the aliens possessed. The Zephyrians had always underestimated human technology. They thought human weapons were primitive and crude. They were about to learn how wrong they were. On Earth, President Daniel Clark was meeting with his cabinet in the secure bunker beneath the White House. Daniel was a calm man with gray hair and intelligent eyes. He had been president for 6 years. He had always believed that this moment would come. "Mr. President," his Secretary of Defense, General Robert Hayes, entered the room. "The Zephyrian attack on New Austin is beginning. This is the first military action against a human colony since our withdrawal." Daniel nodded. "What are our options?" "We can defend the colony with our current forces," General Hayes said. "But this attack will tell us how serious the aliens are about forcing us back into the council." Secretary of State Karen Walsh spoke up. "Mr. President, if we successfully defend New Austin, it will send a message to every species in the galaxy. They will know that humans cannot be pushed around." Daniel looked at the faces of his advisors. These were the people who had planned Earth's withdrawal from the Council. They had known it would lead to conflict. But they had also known that humanity could not continue living as second-class citizens. "Defend the colony," Daniel said. "Show the galaxy what humans are capable of." Back at New Austin, the battle was beginning. The Zephyrian fleet moved into attack formation. Their ships were large and powerful, designed to intimidate their enemies. They had won many battles against other species. General Sectar stood on the bridge of his flagship. He looked at the human colony with contempt. "Begin the attack," he ordered. "Destroy their orbital platforms first. Then bombard the planet's surface." The Zephyrian ships opened fire. Bright energy beams shot through space toward the human defensive platforms. The aliens expected to destroy the platforms quickly and easily, but something unexpected happened. The energy beams hit invisible barriers around the platforms. The barriers glowed with blue light as they absorbed the alien weapons. The platforms were completely undamaged. What? Sektar stared in shock. How are their shields so strong? The human platforms began to return fire. But their weapons were not the crude missiles that the aliens expected. Beams of concentrated plasma shot out from the platforms. The beams moved faster than the alien ships could dodge. The first Zephyrian cruiser exploded in a ball of fire, then another, then 5 more. The alien formation began to break apart as their ships were destroyed one by one. "Retreat!" Sektar shouted. All ships retreat. But it was too late. The human weapons were too fast and too accurate. Half of the Zephyrian fleet was destroyed before they could escape. The survivors fled into hyperspace, leaving behind burning wreckage. On New Austin, Mayor Foster watched the battle from the command center. The alien fleet that had seemed so threatening was now running away. The humans had won a complete victory. "Mayor," Captain Turner said, "we're receiving a message from the surviving Zephyrian ships." "Put it through," Jenny said. General Sektar's face appeared on the screen. His confident expression was gone. His eyes were wide with fear and confusion. "How?" he said. "Your weapons. They're not supposed to be this powerful. Your technology is primitive. You're just servants." Jenny looked at the defeated alien commander. "We were never your servants, General. We were your teachers. You just never bothered to learn." The communication ended. Jenny turned to her staff. "Send a message to Earth. New Austin is secure. The alien threat has been eliminated." Back on Earth, the news of the victory spread quickly. The aliens had tried to force humanity back into the Council through military action. Instead, they had learned that human military technology was far more advanced than they had believed. President Clark addressed the nation from the White House. Today, the colony of New Austin successfully defended itself against alien aggression. This victory sends a clear message to the galaxy. Humanity will not be bullied. We will not be forced to accept second-class citizenship. We are a free and independent species. Across the galaxy, other alien species received word of the Zephyrian defeat. The humans had destroyed half of the Zephyrian war fleet with ease. If the Zephyrians could not defeat the humans, no one could. The galaxy was beginning to understand that humanity was not the weak, primitive species they had always believed. The humans had been hiding their true capabilities for 50 years. Now those capabilities were revealed. The age of alien dominance was ending. The age of human independence had begun. Ambassador Tony Martinez stood in the main conference room of Luna Station. 3 months had passed since Earth's withdrawal from the Galactic Council. The room fell silent. The aliens looked at each other with desperate eyes. They had no answer to Tony's question. A Deep Reach representative gurgled in his water tank. "We offer full equality," the octopus-like being said. "Humans will have equal voting rights in a new galactic government." Tony shook his head. "Earth is not interested in joining another galactic government. We have seen how you treat your equals." The Luminary ambassador flickered weakly in his failing containment suit. "We will share our energy technology with humans. Our greatest secrets will be yours. We will give you our deep-sea mining knowledge," the Deep Reach added. "Our crystal-growing techniques," the Nexari said. "Our military technology," the Zephyrians offered. Tony listened to their desperate offers. These were the same aliens who had refused to share their technology with humans for 50 years. They had claimed that humans were too primitive to understand alien science. Now they were offering everything. "Your offers are too late," Tony said. Earth has moved beyond needing your technology. This was true. While the aliens had been treating humans as servants, human scientists had been studying every piece of alien technology they encountered. They had reverse-engineered alien devices. They had improved upon alien designs. They had created new technologies that were better than anything the aliens possessed. Dr. Emma Collins, Earth's head of xenotechnology, entered the room. She was a brilliant scientist with blonde hair and blue eyes. She had spent her career studying alien technology and finding ways to improve it. Ambassador Martinez, Dr. Collins said. I have the latest reports from our research stations. Tony nodded. Please share them with our guests. Dr. Collins activated a holographic display. It showed images of new human technologies, faster-than-light drives that were twice as fast as alien ships, energy weapons more powerful than anything the Zephyrians had, manufacturing systems more efficient than Syntoid factories. For 50 years, Dr. Collins said, humans have been studying your technology. We didn't just learn how to use it. We learned how to make it better. Our current technology level is at least 2 centuries ahead of what you believe we possess. The aliens stared at the display in shock. The Syntoid representative, a mechanical being with glowing red eyes, spoke in a voice like grinding metal. Impossible. Our manufacturing systems are the most advanced in the galaxy. Dr. Collins smiled. Your manufacturing systems were the most advanced 50 years ago. Human systems are now capable of producing goods at 10 times your efficiency. Rate. She changed the holographic display to show human space stations under construction. Massive structures that dwarfed anything the aliens had ever built. Cities in space that could house millions of people. Shipyards that could build entire fleets in a matter of weeks. This is what humanity has been building while you thought we were your servants, Dr. Collins said. Admiral Lisa Hayes entered the room. She had been promoted to head of Earth's Space Forces after the successful defense of New Austin. She was wearing a new uniform with silver stars on her shoulders. Ambassador Martinez, Admiral Hayes said, I have an update on our deep space exploration program. Please proceed, Admiral, Tony said. Admiral Hayes activated another holographic display. It showed a map of unexplored regions of the galaxy. Human ships were pushing into areas that no alien species had ever reached. Our exploration fleets have discovered 47 new star systems in the past month, Admiral Hayes said. 17 of them contain habitable worlds. We have also found resource deposits that dwarf anything in Council space. The aliens looked at the map with growing despair. While they had been fighting over the scraps of their failing civilization, humans had been expanding into virgin territory. They were claiming new worlds and new resources. The galaxy is much larger than Council space, Admiral Hayes continued. You have been fighting over a small corner of it while the rest remained unexplored. Humans are now claiming that unexplored territory for ourselves. Chairman Veltar made a sound that might have been a sob. What do you want from us? What will it take for you to help us? Tony looked at the broken alien leader. Earth is willing to establish new relationships with galactic species. But these will not be the relationships you are used to. What do you mean? Veltar asked. Earth will not join another galactic council, Tony said. We will not accept restrictions on our expansion. We will not be treated as junior partners. If you want human help, you will deal with us as equals. Tony stood up and walked to the large window that looked out at the stars. Earth is prepared to offer individual treaties with each species, trade agreements, technology sharing, mutual defense pacts. But these will be bilateral agreements between sovereign nations, not membership in some council that thinks it can control us. The aliens looked at each other with desperate hope. What are your terms? The Nexari representative asked. First, Tony said. All restrictions on human expansion are permanently removed. Humans will settle any worlds we choose, in any numbers. We choose. The aliens nodded quickly. They had no choice. Second, Tony continued, all trade between our species will be conducted on equal terms. No more special rates for council members. No more preferential treatment for anyone. More nodding. Third, Tony said, humans will have access to all. Alien territory for exploration and research purposes. In return, we will share selected technologies with your species. Selected technologies? The Syntoid asked. Dr. Collins answered. Earth will share technologies that help you rebuild your civilizations. But our most advanced military and manufacturing technologies will remain human secrets. Tony returned to the table. These are our terms. Accept them, and Earth will help. You rebuild. Reject them, and you can continue struggling on your own. One by one, the aliens agreed to Earth's terms. They had no other choice. Their civilizations were collapsing. Without human help, they would not survive. Over the following weeks, human ships began returning to alien space. But they were not returning as servants. They were returning as the dominant power in the galaxy. Human colonies were established on the best worlds in alien territory. Human companies took over the management of alien industries. Human scientists began upgrading alien technologies. The galaxy that had once looked down on humanity now depended completely on human knowledge and human leadership. 6 months after Earth's withdrawal from the Galactic Council, Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of the new flagship Enterprise. The ship was 3 times larger than any vessel the aliens had ever built. It was powered by technology that the aliens could not even understand. Admiral, his communications officer said, we're receiving a message from Earth. Put it through. Morrison said. President Clark's face appeared on the screen. Admiral Morrison, congratulations on the successful completion of the galactic reorganization. Morrison smiled. Thank you, Mr. President. The new bilateral treaties are working well. Trade is flowing smoothly. The alien species are adapting to their new roles. What about resistance? Clark asked. There is none, Morrison said. The aliens learned their lesson at New Austin. They know they cannot challenge human military superiority. Clark nodded. And our expansion program? Proceeding ahead of schedule, Morrison said. We now have colonies on over 200 worlds. Our exploration fleets are discovering new systems every week. The conversation ended. Morrison looked out at the stars through the ship's main window. Somewhere out there were billions of humans living on worlds that had once been forbidden. To them. Somewhere out there were alien species working as partners instead of masters. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Never underestimate humanity's capacity for patience, planning, and revolutionary change. The humans had not just withdrawn from the Galactic Council. They had replaced it with something better. A galaxy where humans were not servants, but leaders. A galaxy where Earth was not a junior member, but the beating heart of a new civilization. The age of alien dominance was over. The age of human leadership had begun, and the aliens, who had once laughed at human proposals, now worked eagerly to please their new human partners. They had learned too late that the servants they had dismissed were actually their future masters. The galaxy would never be the same again. Was filled with alien representatives from across the galaxy. But this was not the proud council chamber of the past. This was a desperate gathering of species facing extinction. Tony was an experienced diplomat with black hair and calm brown eyes. He had served as Earth's ambassador to several alien worlds. He had seen how the aliens treated humans. Now he was seeing how they acted when they needed human help. The aliens sat around a large circular table. Their appearances showed the effects of the galactic crisis. The Zephyrians looked thin and weak. Their scales had lost their bright green color. The Nexari crystals were cracked and dull. The deep reach were pale and sickly. Chairman Veltar was no longer the proud leader who had mocked humanity 3 months ago. The insect-like alien's shell was cracked in several places. His compound eyes were dim. When he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. "Ambassador Martinez," Veltar said, "we come before you not as the Galactic Council, but as Desperat.